Yes, this is Otis Smith with Interruption Podcast. I'm coming to you. We got a treat for you guys coming up next. Please don't forget to go to my YouTube channel and subscribe to Otis A. Smith, the number three, and subscribe to my podcast. And leave your comments. And once again, like I always say, let me know who you would like to see me interview, and I'll see if I can get a hold of them and make that request a reality. Coming up next on the next interruption episode, we have the incomparable offensive tackle, Richmond Webb. Man should be in the Hall of Fame. I'm trying to tell you how bad this guy was. But once again, go to Otis A. Smith, the number three, and subscribe. Click the like buttons and leave your comments. And coming up next on the next Interruption Podcast show, former NFL great Richmond Webb. Welcome to another edition of Interruptions. I'm your host, Otis Smith. Today we got another treat for you guys. All the fellas been getting mad at me talking about I've been doing R&B, I've been doing actors. They want some sports. Well, I'm telling you, I got an NFL great. He was drafted in the first round, ninth pick overall in 1990 to the Miami Dolphins. I'm talking about the man that they're going to make me hurt somebody if they don't go ahead and put this man in the Hall of Fame, because I'm talking to the brilliant pass protector. Dan Marino loves him, I know, because he kept Dan clean. Richmond Webb. How you doing, sir?
Mr. Smith, how you doing?
All right. You play football when they play real football. They play football.
The game has definitely changed. At times it's frustrating watching it. But the big thing came out a few years ago
Mhm.
is player safety, and I understand
Yeah.
some of it to an extent, but I think I saw where they had a rule change where um, say a receiver catches a pass touchdown on a defensive back and then just kind of looks at him, and that's
Okay.
that's called taunting now. I'm like, man, it's
Oh
I
yeah.
understand.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah.
it's just they're going too far with it. They're taking it. It's not going to be any fun left. That's
Well, I equate football to I mean, I never played at the level you play. I played in high school, and after high school I never played again. But I equate football to boxing. Like, it ain't for everybody. And some stuff you just can't legislate. Like, it's when I knew, even because I was a better baseball player, right? That's the sport most of my family thought I would play pro in, because I was the first one in the family that was really just that good in baseball. My older cousins and stuff, when I was a kid, they used to come watch me play.
okay. Okay.
And because I come from a very sports family, all the way down to my cousins,
Gotcha.
to the baby cousin. And I knew I wasn't gonna play pro ball. When I got up there varsity and the coach said, "You got to be willing to sacrifice your body." I was like, "Hold up, player, hold on." Hold up, wait a minute, you done went too far.
It's the funny thing, and you're right about that. It's different sports require different things, and I can remember in high school I played football and basketball,
Uh-huh.
and most of the guys that play football, playing with guys that normally strictly play basketball, not all of them, but you could barely touch some of them cats, and they'd be like fouls. I'm like, man, you know, it's a different mentality. All of them are not like that, but you're
Right.
right. Depending on the sport, yeah,
Hey, even the man Charles Barkley said he went out there one time and he
yeah.
looked at the coach like, nah, I'm not doing I'm not doing this.
Yeah, it's a man's game. Now you got that right. I'm telling
But
you.
I love it. I love it. It's my passion. It's my favorite sport. I've loved it ever since a kid. My first question for you is, what made you choose Texas A&M? Like, when you were coming out of high school and you were being recruited, because I know uh, everything is different now. Kids back, when you were coming through, you didn't always know if a scout was at the game. You know,
That's
uh,
true.
whereas now, they know they know what scouts at the game and social media. So for you, how did you end up choosing to go to Texas A&M?
Well, it was a couple of factors. For one, I knew I didn't want to go too far away from home. I mean, I got letters from all over the country.
Okay.
Just knowing me and how I am, I know I didn't want to go too far away. So
Okay.
um, I looked at a lot of schools in the Southwest Conference, which is and the Big Eight, which then it came the Big 12.
I
But
remember.
I looked at a lot of those schools. And the other factor I had to take into consideration was if my parents were going to come see me play,
Hmm.
they couldn't afford to be, driving, 5 or 6 hours. That so. I think at the end of the day, I narrowed it down between A&M. I had a really good visit at Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, and I said, well, I want to live in Texas after that. And Jackie Sherrill was a coach, and Coach R.C. Slocum was my recruiting coach at Texas A&M. And I said, man, I think Texas A&M is the spot for me. And I hadn't looked back since. So that was the best decision for me at the time.
You said would you say you wanted to make sure after you were through playing, you still wanted to live in Texas. So
I want to live in Texas. So yeah, I mean, I love Florida, and I go back and visit and stuff like that. But just the cost of living, even when I moved there back then, it was more, and I'm sure it's way more now.
it's still way
Back
more.
then. So, yeah.
I'm in Georgia, and I know I told my wife if we ever move out of Georgia,
Mhm.
we got to go to Texas because the cost of living is
Yeah.
comparable. The housing
Georgia and
markets,
Texas, yeah, it's pretty comparable. Yeah, you'll be
yeah,
out. Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
I'll be all right. What was for you in that dispensation time that you were playing in? What was college like for you, from being a student, athlete? How was the whole experience for you?
It was, man, it was when I first got there, it was a little tough, and I think it was just from making the adjustments. And I
Hmm.
think some of the adjustments you got to make is, well, with football you don't, but you have a lot more free time. So if
Okay.
you're not a disciplined person,
Hmm.
uh, you go to practice, you come back, you eat this and that, and then you mess around, you get to hanging around the guys at the pool table or just shooting the breeze with your teammates. And before you know it, it's 9:30, 10 o'clock, and you hadn't even cracked the book open. So
Oh
um,
wow.
just making some of those adjustments and
Okay.
just getting used to college life. And then the other thing was you had to get used to, you had classes normally on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and certain classes on Tuesday and Thursday. So it was easy to slip into that trap of saying, well, I don't go to class till Wednesday, so I can wait till Tuesday to really take a look at it. But after like the first semester or two, I kind of got in a little rhythm and kind of got it together. But that was the toughest part for me. I think just trying to just skate through, and I was like, no, you can't do this. You got to come on with it, because if not, they're gonna send me back home, and my mom ain't trying to hear that right there.
Oh no, you can't have mama them when they get that look of disappointment, boy. this was it with that adjustment. What you talking about, far as with the class, was that because of in high school you got to do your work because somebody gonna call home and say, hey, Richmond ain't but when you off to college, I mean, now they may check, let the coaches know, but
Right.
nobody's calling home, and so you got to like you said, you got to realize, all right, I gotta buckle down. I can't just.
You got to buckle down, and you're right. It was different, and I think we had like my true freshman year. I think it was already kind of mandatory, because I guess they already knew that we got to kind of reel these guys in. But I think it was at least 2 nights a week we had to attend what they call study hall. And the
Okay.
good thing about that is they had tutors, and we would meet in the cafeteria where we would eat at stuff, and it would be spread out, because it'd be normally mainly the freshmen or something, unless you were a upperclassman that were kind of
Hmm.
struggling and needed to keep you eligible. But um, that was set in place. So it was a couple things, but just um, like I said before, when you don't go to class in high school, we went to
Right.
class Monday through Friday, and you kind of figure that out, and you think you can do it. It's like, no,
Just
you
different.
mess around and get behind, and once you get behind, it goes quicker than what you expect.
Was the practice in college? Um, at that time like a shocker. And what I mean by that is, in high school you go to class first, and then you see after school you go to practice. When you get to class, you see the coach first. Like you,
So, I mean, the thing was, I remember in high school, I was I was probably the tallest I know on the football team.
okay,
And we had a couple guys 6'4", but I was like a couple inches above them. So you get to college and then it's, 20, 30 guys looking you eye to eye. And, it's intimidating because you ain't the big fish in the pond.
right, right,
I probably went to college I went as a defensive lineman, so I was probably about 245, because
okay,
I come out of football and play basketball, so I normally, trim down a little bit more. But man, going up with guys your own size, in high school, it'd be some mismatches. You could kind of punish some of them guys, but you had to earn your keep down there.
yeah,
So that was a big adjustment as well, and just adjusting to that and all that. But yeah, it was the first transition of just getting in there and then realizing that, hey man, it's just they got 20 guys my size. It ain't just me.
right.
You ain't nothing special around here no more.
What was draft day like for you and your family? Because uh, it's a production now. It's a show now. Like, what was that? What was draft day like for you and your family?
Totally opposite. I mean, it's like you said, it's like going to the Oscars now. They got the red carpet, and me and my wife actually we went to I want to say 219 when the
Okay.
draft was in Nashville, and
Okay. Yeah.
we had a great time hanging out. So I wouldn't mind going back just hanging out. But at that time, only a few guys would go to New York. Paul Tagliabue was the
Commissioner. Yeah.
commissioner of the league when I was coming in. So very few guys. And what I did, I went to Dallas. I was from Dallas, and I was at my parents' house, and my parents and my sister, my two brothers, we were all there,
Okay.
and had it on ESPN because that was the show you watch. Now they got the NFL Network. They got
Yeah.
3 or 4 things showing it. That went there and then got a call from I think the Dolphins. I want to say Kansas City, but they said they didn't think I was going to be there. But if I was, they would take me. And the Raiders kind of told me the same thing. They said, if you're there, we're going to take you, but we don't think you're going to be on the board. And you hear that,
Uh huh.
but you be like, man, I need to get that phone call because people always say we're going to do something and then it doesn't happen. But I got that call from Coach Shula and he said, you ready to be a Dolphin? I said, yes, sir. And if I could breathe again, man, because I was a ninth pick. And I know if I'm nervous, I can imagine the longer you
Guys,
got.
yeah. Oh yeah, that's
And
right. That's right. Because when you got drafted,
yeah,
the money rounds was the first night, 1 through 3.
yeah,
That
yeah.
thing that I remember that thing didn't go off to about midnight.
It went off late. It was 12 rounds. And then the thing was each team got 15 minutes. And
Yeah.
I can remember even when the Dolphins took me, they still took up 15. They waited till the last minute and I'm like, they said, just hold tight. We're gonna announce it. And so it was different, but man, it was just a sigh of relief when I got that call and Coach Shula was on the phone, and then I was happy because my main thing was
Uh huh.
I wanted to go somewhere warm. So I was like, the Lord answered my prayer. So it's Miami, South Miami. It don't get no hotter than that. So it was good, and everything worked out good for me. So I'm glad I got drafted by the Dolphins.
I would like to just ask the general managers or the coaches, like, why do y'all ask that question? Like you ready to be a Dolphin? Like you gonna sit there? Nah, man, I'm gonna wait to the 32nd pick because the Steelers gonna be like, man, come on.
And you know what, Otis? The funny thing about you say that it's only been a few players.
Correct.
I think not Peyton, but Eli.
Eli,
He,
yeah.
he told him, "Don't draft me." I think maybe
John,
Bo Jackson might have told Tampa, "Don't if you draft me, I'm not coming." But most of the time, they don't care what you say. If they want you, it was no free agency when when I came in the league. I think it started in like '92, so I was like 2 or 3 years before it actually started. So
Right.
if a team drafted you, the only way
You
you
pretty
get out
much
of
was
it
there.
was cut or they trade you. But other than that, you didn't have no say so. So it was a different world back then.
Well, one y'all was signing contracts too long. Even coming in your rookie year, man, y'all, y'all like 7 years, like 7 years. When you look back at it now, you like
Yeah.
7, man.
When I came in, I signed a 5-year deal, and a lot of teams would try to lock their first rounders up for 5. I was shooting for a 4,
Hmm.
but they was like, "No, we need to lock we fell up for 5." I was like, "Man, it's like." My agent did a pretty good job. I wasn't mad, but I understood what they was trying to do, but at the same time, they understood what we were trying to do as well. But you're right. Um, those 7, 8 years, I said, man, after 5, sometimes it's over. If you make
I
it to
about to
5,
say.
yeah, yeah, you're right.
And it was what's funny though, they still doing 5 because their first round is 4, and they got the option, the 5th year option, and then they still can franchise you twice after that. So they kind of, if you look at it in the long haul, they got you basically for 7 years.
They got you, and it's up to their discretion. If you ain't met their expectations, you might want to say, well, yeah, I'll take that 5th year option, but they can snatch it away and say, no, we don't.
Yeah, and then you
No,
only
we're gonna
got
let you go be a hit.
4. Yeah.
Yeah. It's always in their best interest. Yeah, that's it.
When you came in the league, did you feel any pressure, far as you knew you was going to play for Don Shula, a legendary coach, and then you got this phenom quarterback and Dan Marino that you had to protect? Did you feel any pressure coming in as a young man?
I think most players do, especially if you're a first round draft, you're a really high draft round pick because even when you watch the draft now, they'll take guys in the first round, and if it's not what some of the fan base want, I've seen guys get booed,
Yeah.
don't even give you a chance. So I think the thing is that you want to show that you're worth the money that they're giving you because they'll say, "Well, this kid's coming out of college, we don't know nothing," and sometimes it works out, and sometimes it doesn't. So
Right.
you have that added pressure, like you said, playing for a guy like Coach Shula, the success he had, this and that, and then of course, like you said, Marino, and the pressure. I thought about back then was I was like, man, this guy's already a legend in South Florida, and I say I don't want to be remembered as being the guy that gets this guy hurt. So
Uh,
that was enough motivation for me. I was
okay.
like,
Okay.
yeah, that
Like
was my motivation right there.
what they say, the position you play is that if we don't hear your name, you doing your job.
You're
If
doing your job.
if we
Yeah,
hear your name in the broadcast,
yeah.
you can
You done messed up something. You done did something. I'm
you
like, man,
you
and
get
everybody know it.
every and ain't nowhere to hide.
Uh-uh. You know where to hide.
What were you? I'm always curious. I've have interviewed a couple of offensive linemen, um, and I'm always curious. And I've never asked these guys, the other two, this question. So I wanted to ask you, before the ball is snapped, as an offensive tackle, what are you looking at? What do you?
Is it a run or a pass?
Give me
I
both.
guess,
Give me both.
I
Give
guess
me
I
both.
guess you don't either. I guess it really doesn't matter if it's a run. The first thing I'm looking at is his alignment. The next
Hmm.
thing I'm looking at is okay, is the play going to my side or is it going to
Hmm.
away from me? And then what is my assignment? Sometimes I have to work with the guard up to the linebacker, or might
Okay.
have to cut the guy off, or I might have to reach a guy, play side, this and that. And so, say a guy's outside technique on me, I got to reach him, and the player's coming play side. Then I got to make sure that if this guy slants hard inside, I got to be able to take this step and recover and try to not allow penetration, this and that. And then pretty much the same thing on the pass, except you're setting back. So you want to get back set up. If he's on outside, you want to kind of keep a little outside. Will keep him to your outside just a little bit,
Hmm.
and try to see if it's a stunt, a TE or ET, where
Yeah.
two defensive linemen. So It's a lot, but you kind of get back where you can kind of react and see what's going on, and then once you see, you kind of react to what's going on.
And that's why I'm amazed because, like you said, okay, if it's a run play, you already know you coming out firing. You like
Yeah,
you get a chance to like let me go, but
yeah,
when you're pass blocking, and especially when it's a certain down and distance, and you already know for yourself, it's the play got to develop. It got to develop because it's the down and distance. And so I'm always been curious of like, especially going from pass blocking, either riding him out, like where the defense he can take himself out to play, or
yeah,
or now he's coming with a bull rush. So like you jabbed out, but now
yeah.
he's coming inside. How do you recover
It's
where you're not getting, bull rushed over?
yeah. Well, the thing is most of the time, if it's a linebacker or whatever like that,
Hmm.
most of the time he's gonna try to speed rush you. You kind of categorize and you study film to where you know what most guys are gonna try to do this and that. I think the thing that was really tough was say like we were on the road and you got the crowd noise, and back then they used to flinch at you
Oh,
to
I
see if you
remember
get to
that.
jump outside. They can't do that no more. So it was a totally different thing. And then a lot of times if guys line up real wide, it's just a speed rush up. But if
Okay.
they start tightening down on you where they normally don't, they line up wider, you can say, okay, if it's a 7-step drop, it's probably going to be a good chance that they're going to run some kind of stunt because normally his alignment is further out. So you got to pay attention to all those little minute details because that kind of helps you with your pass set and
Okay.
saying okay this and that. And the good thing was I played with Keith Sims. We both came in the same year,
Oh
and
yeah. Yeah.
the thing that was really good about us is we really communicated and we got an understanding early. And a lot of times we could look at each other and not even have to say a word, and we knew what each other was thinking. So when you can kind of develop that with the guy you playing beside, that makes your job a whole lot easier.
Do you find I when I change my backdrop to this here, you and Bruce Smith
Mhm.
going at it? Is it better when you're facing someone, and just follow me here where I'm going with the question, when you're facing someone like a Bruce Smith, where you pretty much know, all right, they just gonna let Bruce go at you, like it ain't no stunting, and he's supposed to be the premier pass rusher, even as great as you are. It's like, okay, Bruce and Webb going at it versus you may have somebody he's okay. We know he can play because the guy's in the league, but he's not Bruce Smith. So now, like what you were talking about, we may have to do some stunts. You may have to, they're trying to get this guy loose, or they're trying to create havoc on the line to get pressure. Is it better just facing someone like Bruce, where all right, it's just gonna be me and Bruce all day?
Well, that's basically what it was, and it was 60 minutes of hell. I mean, that dude there was just. Um, I mean, he could be out. He was just hard to cut off. I mean, he played the run just as well as he did the pass. And a lot of people don't give him credit for that. He's got I think he got the sack record with over 200
Yeah,
sacks.
yeah,
But man, it was just 60 minutes of hell. And then it didn't help that we were division rivals. They definitely didn't like us. We didn't like them, and it was always Marino and Kelly, and
yeah.
and this and that. And man, it was that was the toughest guy. So if I could deal with him, like you said, if it was a guy drop off, I needed that break probably the next week to recover from playing against him the week before. Because I'm telling you, they was gonna get their money's worth. Yeah, when 7-8 in that blue jersey or the white with the red helmet showed up. Yeah, you had to earn your money that week.
That's did you ever go to Marine? This is I just man. Sometimes I just have sidebar questions, but
Yeah.
did you ever go to Marino like when you're in the huddle and like, hey man, look here, I'm gonna need you to get that ball out a little quicker, man. I ain't got time to be tussling with Bruce all night. Now you need to go on. You need to find Nate. You need to find Duba, Clay. Somebody need to get open because I ain't got time. That ball need to come out a little
And
fast.
when we was playing against Buffalo, that's the last thing you had to worry about worry about, because he knew where 78 was, and then they had another guy on the other side, Cornelius Bennett. So he
Bennett,
knew,
Biscuit.
Biscuit. He had to get that ball out, and they were coming, and everybody talks about their offense, but they really had
They did defense.
really good defense that it kind of gets overshadowed. People talk about Bruce, they talk about Biscuit, but man, they were loaded over there, and that it made sense to why they went to 4 straight Super Bowls, and they were just a little bit better than us. We couldn't get over the hump, and that was kind of a frustrating thing for me too.
What is the for you or people that would see it? What would you say is the toughest part about playing in the NFL?
The toughest part, I think the toughest part for a young player is I think the toughest part for me when I first got in, not that I was going to get cut or anything, because I know it's the first round. You're pretty much safe the first couple of years or whatever. I think the toughest part was, putting pressure on yourself to perform.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing that I realized real early was that this is a business. And when you go through training camp,
Okay.
I think we started with like 80 guys back then, but you got to get down to 53. So you start making friendships, and the next thing you know, this guy was in the locker room or he was eating, and they done told him to bring his playbook, and they shipping him up out of there. It's different in college because everybody's on scholarship and this and that, and that was a rude awakening, because you make friends, but at the same time, it's a business. It's only so many slots. They're gonna
Right.
bring in more than what they really need, but they're gonna trim it down. I think that was tough. And then once you make it, you always gotta say, I gotta continue to maintain or continue to get better, because it's always somebody trying to take my spot.
Yeah, I always when I looked at once they start peeling back with NFL with Hard Knocks, once they started showing Hard Knocks, I didn't know that the cutting part, not far as the guy being cut, but I didn't know the part that was so brutal is when they say, okay, hey Rich, we're gonna let you go, right? And they tell you that, so but the part that to me that's so heartless is like, go see Judy up at the front desk. Your flight, like, wait a minute, hold on. You mean my flight? You
They already got a book.
mean
Yeah, yeah.
my flight
Yeah.
already?
They're gonna put you on that church van with no letters on it. It's a old white, just a white, one of them white panel
Yeah.
passenger vans, and yeah, they're gonna get you back to the airport, and they're gonna say, "Wait, you want to go back to Dallas? You want to go back to A&M?" They're gonna get you a ticket, but you can't stay here. You got to go on somewhere
I
else.
mean, that's so, like you said, it's quick. You don't really get to, I mean, in order for you to tell a guy, oh man, well, hopefully, you stick on somewhere, somebody pick you. You got to see that dude coming back in the locker room, maybe just gathering a couple of his stuff. Because if you don't see him there, you just find out that, oh man, they cut so and so. It's like
And,
that.
and, and most of the time, I think, from what I remember in Miami,
Mm.
they would always do it like, say, right when we were getting ready to go into a meeting. So we're in a meeting, they grab a guy. Everybody's in the meeting, so you don't know, or they'll get you first thing in the morning. You might get that knock on your door, and then they say, "Hey, coach want to see you," or like you say, and then they send you to whoever, and then they give you the spiel that, hey, you did a good job, but we're going to have to let you go. If it's an opportunity, we may bring you back, but you'd be like, man, if I don't catch you on somewhere else, because you know what I'm saying,
It's hard.
it's
It's
hard.
just
Hard.
sometimes it is a numbers game. I've seen that where like really what sometimes it is a numbers game. Like you got drafted by this team, but the likelihood of you making this squad is is really it's difficult, but especially if you're a championship team or a team close, you only need maybe one or two players, and so it's not like you said a lot of room. And then sometimes it's I used to before I started doing the podcast and everything, I used to
Okay.
do market endorsement. in the sports management arena. And I used to tell guys, man, I don't care how many reps you get in practice, you got to make them count. And I used to say,
You got yeah.
if you get in the game in the fourth quarter with 5 minutes left, and I always used to tell guys, and let me ask you your assessment of it. I used to
Okay.
tell guys, you will know how well you're doing in practice by the first preseason game. And the guy said, well, I said, because the starters ain't gonna play but one series. If you're not getting in that first preseason game, like if you ain't really getting some run in that first preseason game, yeah, you about to go home.
Yeah, and you're right, and like you said, if you're a championship team and you don't need many players, or you go and say you're a wide receiver, but they're loaded
Hmm.
at the wide receiver position.
Hmm.
No matter how good of a camp you have, you pretty much not gonna make that team because they loaded at that position. But to your point, which is good, when you get in the game in a preseason game, you need to shine because other teams might say, "Hey, we need a receiver."
Right.
You might stick out and they say, "Okay, he's probably not going to make Miami, but we got a chance. If he doesn't clear, we're going to grab this guy because we like what we see from him." But you can't say, "Well, oh, man, I didn't get into the second quarter and this and that." Yeah,
You,
you'll be back home watching with everybody else. You can't
it's
have
funny
that
you
out.
say that because that used to be my line. You're gonna be at home with me, so
Yeah,
you,
that's
you.
real
I
talk, bro.
I would
Yeah.
even tell a guy. I mean, I never had a client that went up against you, but I'm saying
Mhm.
if I had, I would have said, "Hey, man, you need to let Richmond Webb know he doesn't have much time left in the game.
Yeah.
You wanna go in there? I don't care nothing about. I don't care nothing about. He been playing 8 years pro ball. I don't care nothing about that. Cause one, look, hey Rich, hey, it was selfish too. One, cause if you ain't making the team, I can't get no endorsement for you. That mean I can't get no commission. Look, I had to go into coach speed.
But really, that's the way you got to approach it. You can't look at a guy's accolades and say you'll be defeated in your head before you even take the first snap. So you got to go out there and say, "No, I need to put some food on my table." You know what I'm saying? I need to eat too. So, hey, this dude is good. If anything, we're gonna stalemate, but I ain't gonna
I'm
just lay
gonna-
down. I'm gonna give it all I got, and that's the way you got to approach the game.
Do you feel that, and I'll give you some context of where I'm coming from with this question, but I'm gonna ask it first. Do you feel like the NFL are making guys more of a target? And where I'm coming from with that is Richmond Well gets drafted.
Mhm.
Even when you sign your contract, whether you're a rookie, whether you are a veteran, everybody know how much money you make. Then now with the collective bargain agreement, whether it's true or whether there's a lie out there about Richmond, now you being investigated by the NFL. You could have an endorsement deal, or you might be been getting ready to do some business, and because of the accusation, everything falls apart. So, do you think that the NFL actually is doing a disservice to their players because with people knowing how much money you make, I mean, you guys are target before you targeting your own family, everybody in the house.
Yeah.
They all they heard was 50 million. They didn't hear it was gonna take you 5 years to make 50 million. All they heard was 50 million. So do you feel like the NFL needs to do a better job of protecting its players? Because I understand they're trying to protect the shield, but in protecting the shield, I think they leaving the players out to be preyed on.
Yeah, it's really gotten. I'll say the last 5, 7 years, it's really gotten bad, and not just for sports, but
Hmm.
for entertainers. And
Right.
I've seen multiple occasions where it's reported. It might not be true, but you'll see people lose sponsorships.
Right.
Uh, Even before it's whether you guilty or whatever, it's like they're gonna separate from you, and it just shows the power of social media. Now, the thing that would be better if
Hmm.
it didn't say, okay, well, Richmond makes 5 million a year or
Hmm.
15 million a year, this and that. Do it in basketball, baseball, this and that. So it's a target on your back, and it's even easier now. Before I can remember say you was in the club or whatever, and
Uh-huh.
a girl might say you could always lie and say, "Oh yeah, I play in the NFL this now," but now they can ask you your name and grab their smartphone and like you you don't play because they're gonna pull up the picture and everything. So um, uh, the technology now is way different. I'm kind of glad I played in the old era because
Okay.
I don't have to deal with all that. But there's way more media coverage, this and that. If something happens, you tweet something out or whatever before you can delete it. Somebody saw it, and then it's all over the networks and stuff. But it just shows. And then the thing that's really has escalated is, and I've told guys this for years. I said, man,
Okay.
it's better for you to do drugs, smoke a little weed or something.
Right.
You'll get in the program. But I said, if you go out here and put your hands on a woman or something
Oh yeah.
physical, that's a quick way to get out the league, and you might not never get back in. I say they're not playing with that no more. So I said, if you with a woman and something, she make you that mad, it's better you leave and go get your room or something. But don't stay there and hit that woman or whatever you do.
Well,
That's my
and that's what,
advice.
and that's why I asked that question, because even with like what you stated, like whether it could be true or not, not true. Like where I'm coming from, Richard, is I'm looking at guys like a Brian Banks, who was the number one high school in the state. Going to go to USC as a linebacker. A young lady says he raped her. He goes do time, find out it wasn't true, but he can't. It's not like the NFL coming back and say, okay, the average career is 3 to 4 years. He would have been in the league. Hey, let's give him three. The average salary at that time would have been to try to make up. But nobody's doing that,
Uh,
and guys like guys lose that because now people know that these guys can get in trouble real easy off a lie. And then, like you said, you lose a sponsorship because the sponsorship is saying, well, we don't know if it's true. We don't know, even though he's clear, we still don't know if that was true. So, like you say, they just shun from it. I just kind of feel bad for guys because they don't even know. Sometimes you don't know you're putting yourself in a situation. Like
that's true.
you
And
don't have
and
a
and,
clear.
and then the other bad part about it is
Hmm.
when it is found out that it wasn't true, or you kind of clear your name, the person that made the accusations normally don't have the financial money or whatever to make you whole from money you lost, whether it was endorsement salary
Right.
or whatever. So now it's like, yeah, you proved that you wasn't guilty, but man, look at what all I lost because of a lie, or
Hmm.
was angry, whatever it is, whatever.
Right.
Especially if it's not true. If it's true, it's different. But if it's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
true, and you got to go through that, it should be some kind of way. You get made whole, man, because that mess a whole bunch of people's lives up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do my and this my that question segue into my next question for you. Do you believe like the NFL Players Association, the PA, should do a mentor program where use an example, and it doesn't matter the position, but use an example, a guy, if you're willing, but I'm just using you for this example, a guy is assigned to Richmond Webb. So he's got to call Richmond Webb at least once a month. It could be more based on y'all schedule or whatever, but once a month. Because by you being a former player, you already kind of know some questions to ask that other agents and people just wouldn't even think to ask this young man. Some simple as like, how are you moving? When you out in the public, how you move? Is it just you? Is it you? And like certain questions, and based on the response they give you, sometimes you may say, "Hey, man, you may want to think about XYZ because that could lead to some." Even though nothing's going on with you right now,
right.
if you get comfortable moving this way that you're moving, that could potentially, what do you think about something like that, the PA implementing to be able to kind of get guys to speak to guys like yourself and others, not always about the game itself, but how you have to move while
Yeah,
you're playing this game?
I think it could be beneficial, but I
Hmm.
just I know a lot of young guys, and I was young one time, and a lot of time when you're young, you don't think, you just think you got it together.
Right.
And I kind of had a little bit of that probably myself as well. And I guess it's just depend on the guy. If it's somebody that,
True.
you respect or whatever, you might take a little advice from, but a lot of times you might say, well, man, I'm good. I don't really need this and that. Even though you possibly do, the way I think now at my age, I didn't think when I was
Same
playing.
here.
You think you just invincible. Ain't nobody, it's so that's the tough part. They can implement it, but if guys are really buy into it and really listen, I think it would be beneficial. I just don't know, because they have they used to have like a rookie
Yeah,
symposium. They
they still
probably
got. I think they still had the symposium.
but it's just, you would see it. They would bring all these guys in, talk to them, and then the next weekend, before they just left there, somebody gets in trouble or somebody does something that they just talked about at the
Right.
symposium. So I think it would be beneficial to some guys, but I think you got some knuckleheads, some hard heads,
Oh
and
yeah.
no matter what you do. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, you can't help everybody. It was just to start to because, like you said, I look at it like this too. Just what you said, which is just life. I tell my daughters all the time. The problem with being young is you think you know more than the people that came before you. For some reason, you just tend to think you know more. Because I was the same way. Like your uncles, your father, somebody giving you advice, you like, they don't know what time it is out here. Actually, they do. You the one that don't know what's going on. And so
Man, hey, when you from the South, the old
yeah,
folks, it ain't nothing new under the sun, and they trying to tell you something, you be like, man, I don't know. I'm like, no, they do know. You just don't know they know. It's just different people, but it's the same.
it's this.
It's the same thing.
I used to tell my son this all the time. I used to say, same game, different players.
Yep.
Same game. It's still
Yep.
football. May change the rules a little bit. Same game, different players. So you may need to listen to as they say, the OGs, and learn how to be a smarter player. Because sometimes when that physical skill leaves you, but if you can see it before it happens, you know, you can last longer.
Oh, it froze up there for a minute, so you just came back. I
Oh no,
missed
no,
it.
I was saying same game, different play. I was saying even in sports, like you may be more athletic coming in the league than a Richmond Webb was, but your athleticism is not going to stay. But if you
Mm-mm.
listen to Mr. Webb and learn the game and pick up nuances, you can play longer when people still think you're in your prime and you know you're not in your prime. But because you see the game, you still can react faster. It's the same way with
Yep.
life. It's the same way with life.
True.
I
Yeah.
got just two more questions for you. Um,
Okay.
do you like the way the game is being played today? I know we talked about some of the rules change, but overall, do you like the way the game is being played?
I have adjusted. I'll put it like this.
Hmm.
I don't have a problem with the way the game is played, but
Hmm.
I just some of the trash talking and stuff, as long as it's not physical, I,
Right.
I miss that part of the game. I
Okay.
mean, that was a part of the game that you could almost talk somebody out the game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Some guys can't handle the mental games that you play. So, and not that I was a big trash talker, but when you would be out on the field with somebody, I mean, some of these guys come up with some of the best um, slogans or whatever. I mean, like Warren Sapp was a great trash talker.
Yeah.
Um, my man John Randall in
Oh man,
Minnesota. So
he didn't stop at all.
yeah, and it's all from the start on. And I remember we was at the Pro Bowl, and we were getting ready to play, and John Randall was over there, and he went to Holland, and he had all the black face stuff on.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
was like, I said, man, this is the Pro Bowl. This is the first quarter. This dude is ready. I was like, but that's what made the game fun because you got different characters, and then a
Right.
couple start going back. I missed that part, but yeah, they just you just got to tread lightly, I guess. But I missed that part.
I
That was it for me right there.
the one rule, if I had to nitpick a one rule, I think they need to throw out it because I don't understand this rule where you can't have your full weight of your body land on the quarterback. I'm like, what what is
Hey
that?
man, they paying them boys too much money. They ain't gonna let you. Hey, they want you to
Hey,
take
hey,
the
listen. Like I said, it's football. It ain't for everybody. Like it's like it because now I mean hitting late and maybe like you say hitting in the head. I get that. I'm with that rule, but
Right.
you got too many athletic quarterbacks now. You can't be just telling a dude to come in and then he got him, and it's almost like now he waiting on the ref to blow the whistle because he knows he can't fall and drop. Like that is the most ridiculous thing I have
And,
ever heard in my life.
and you know, the first play I thought about was this quarterback. I think he's in the league now, but he played for University of Pittsburgh, I believe, and he was running, and he looked like he was gonna slide, and
Okay.
the defender kind of eased up, and he shook and just kept going, and I'm like, see, if you're gonna slide, you need, you know what I'm saying? Because now he's kind of giving himself up. But at the same time, if that happened back in the day, and they was like, okay, guys run out of bounds, and we let you make it, and then you kind of jumps the next time, or you gonna pay full price for that. You know? But you can't do that no more. You know, that's the thing I miss. Like I was gonna let you make it, but since you go,
Okay, since you go, okay, all right, try that next time.
yeah,
Try that, and I, you know, that's to me, that's the main one that I just it the just sticks in my craw because I'm sitting here as like then some of the records that a quarterback can achieve to me then is kind of hollow because like you played for one of the best throwers of the football ever, and now they act like Dan when the one of the, now it's like, oh, we never seen a guy throw the football like this before. And I be sitting back thinking like, yes, you have. You
yeah,
don't be a prisoner of the moment. If a young commentator says that, I understand. He's young. He had when somebody my age, 50 or older, I'm like, man, come on, you ain't finished. I love Lamar Jackson, love him,
yeah.
but we never seen a quarterback like this before. Like, so y'all forgot about number 7. Like, y'all never
Right
saw
about
big.
him,
You never
Randall
saw Randall
Cunningham.
Cunningham, right? Like
Yeah,
you just
it was just yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You ain't gotta remind them. They be like, "Who?" I be like, "Man, don't do that. Don't do
Don't
that."
do that. Okay, don't do that.
And,
My,
and, and they more protected now than they were back then. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. And even watching the crazy stuff like a Brett Favre would do, you know, uh just like they act like these guys didn't exist, these guys didn't play when they say, I've never seen that. And I'm like, you never was watching the game. you,
well paying attention.
you My final question: how does one stay in the NFL?
Man, for me, what I did was I limited my clubbing and stuff like that. I tried to take
Okay,
care of my body,
okay.
and I was blessed and I was fortunate. You know, I didn't have a lot of injuries early on, so the good Lord definitely, I say, took care of me because it only takes one play, and it could be, be over there quick, and you see it.
Yeah,
So I always knew I was blessed and fortunate, and then when I had that, I tried to, take advantage of it and this and that because some of the great ones, I think about even like a freak accident like Bo Jackson had where the guy was
oh
tackling,
yeah.
like, he's probably two sport great athletes. What he did, I mean,
Oh,
he was just a freak.
ridiculous.
You can't fit him in the box, but I would have loved to see him have that long career to just see what, because he was just, man, he was amazing.
That's so it's injuries. I mean, well, like you said, you have to be blessed just to not
Got to be
have the have the injuries. But man, I'm rooting for you to get into the Hall of Fame. I think the only thing I don't like with the process with the Hall of Fame is that if Richmond Webb's a Hall of Famer, and I understand there's another guy coming out, and you saying, okay, first ballot, either they need to go in together, or the first ballot guy needs to wait because we need to go ahead and put Richmond Webb in. Like I kind of felt like it was wrong when they put Michael Irvin in.
Mm-hmm.
Not that he shouldn't go in, but I mean, they put him in before they put Art Monk. And I was like, that don't make sense. Monk, when he left the game, that's who Jerry Rice was chasing. So how
Right.
do certain guys to me should be in before somebody else gets in. And it's not that they both don't deserve to get in. It's just put this guy because we're seeing some people passing, and dying, and it's like, man, you could have put them in 3-4 years ago, and now you're putting them in, but they're not here to get those things. So
Right.
that's the only thing with the NFL, the Hall of Fame that I would like to see them get better at is guys like yourself, guys like Joe Jacoby, uh, you guys. It's like, man, are y'all? And that's why I like getting offensive linemen on for you
Mm-hmm.
guys to understand. It's a lot going into this. What you guys did. Then you
Right.
just standing there like we at the park. It's on two. and you like, all right, Johnny, that's your man right there. That's your man. You
Yeah.
you guys way past that level. So I appreciate you coming on the show, man, blessing us with your presence, giving us time. We love to have you back on the show, and I'm gonna try to pay you up. You know what? We ought to do a segment, man, where we just have nothing but offensive linemen.
I ain't got no problem with that. Just let me know.
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on, man. Stay safe and stay blessed out there, man. And we love you.
Hey, love you too, brother. Thanks for having
Peace.
me on my show. It was a blast.
Bye.